Millionaire CEO sends daughter to the wrong camp and finds the one thing he was missing. The storm came fast. The kids were rushed to shelter. But his daughter never made it back. Nathaniel Carter used to run billion-dollar deals without flinching. But tonight, he's running through a forest in the middle of a thunderstorm, searching for the only thing that truly matters. A father, a missing child, a test he never planned for, but one he has to pass. This is the story of a man who thought he had everything, until a 12-year-old girl and a flash of lightning reminded him what love really means. Hit that subscribe button now. Because what happens next will stay with you forever. The mistake that changed everything. He thought he was sending her away for the summer. He didn't realize he was about to be brought home, for the first time in years. Nathaniel Carter lived by the rules of precision. His morning coffee had to be exactly 200 degrees. His shirts came pre-pressed in a plastic sleeve, hung with surgical symmetry, and his entire life, from quarterly earnings to school pickups, ran like a billion-dollar machine. He wasn't just a CEO. He was the kind of man who answered emails during dinners, planned vacations a year in advance, and scheduled his daughter's childhood like it was a long-term investment. That's why, when summer rolled around, and Lily's boarding school closed its gates for break, Nathaniel didn't panic. He made a spreadsheet, camp options, rankings, safety ratings, tuition brackets. A clear winner emerged. Everglow Elite Retreat, a luxury experience in nature. He didn't read much past the headline. The assistant booked it, the driver loaded the bags. And just like that, he and Lily were off on what he called a quick drop-off. Nathaniel barely noticed that Lily hadn't said much during the drive. Her brown curls framed a quiet face as she stared out the window. Watching trees whip past the glass like secrets never told. "Are you excited?" he asked, glancing at her between business calls. She nodded, not convincingly. But Nathaniel had work to get back to and 100 unread emails whispering his name. The SUV wound its way through backcountry roads, the sleek black tires kicking up dust in the summer sun. GPS confirmed they were close. Nathaniel sat straighter, smoothing his suit jacket, until the trees opened up. And he saw it. No stone buildings, no velvet lounge chairs, no spa cabins or tennis courts. Just wooden shacks, dirt trails, children with mud-streaked legs and wild hair. A rope bridge, a canoe half sunken in a lake. A banner hung over the gate. Camp Firefly, where adventure begins. Nathaniel blinked. Once, twice. This couldn't be it. But Lily, his 12-year-old, introverted, piano-practicing daughter, lit up like someone had flipped on a light inside her chest. "Dad," she whispered, eyes wide, "is this a survival camp?" Before he could answer, she yanked open the door and bolted out. Nathaniel scrambled after her. "Lily, wait." She ran toward a group of kids gathered around a fire pit, watching someone demonstrate how to start a flame with sticks and stone. Nathaniel froze in place, briefcase still in hand, Italian shoes sinking slightly into soft earth. This wasn't a camp. This was chaos with a registration form. He stormed toward the camp office, a tilted log cabin with peeling paint and a crooked wind chime that clinked like a warning. The door creaked open. Behind a rustic desk stood a woman in a faded Camp Firefly t-shirt, clipboard in hand, her ponytail messy but confident. "Can I help you?" she asked. He cleared his throat, straightening. "Yes, I believe there's been a mistake. I'm Nathaniel Carter. I signed my daughter up for Everglow Elite. Not whatever this is." The woman didn't blink. "You're at the right place, Mr. Carter. Everglow was rebranded last year. We're under new leadership." He narrowed his eyes. "Where are the heated pools? The gourmet meals?" She tapped her clipboard, completely unfazed. "Replaced with tree climbs, open fire cooking, and group obstacle courses. The kids love it." Nathaniel scoffed. "This is unacceptable. I demand a refund." She smiled. "Check the fine print. No refunds. Full participation required. 2-week minimum." He turned, furious, searching for Lily. He found her kneeling in the dirt, carving her name into a wooden log with a pocket knife some other kid had handed her. Her eyes met his, and for the first time in, maybe ever, she looked alive. She looked like someone who belonged somewhere. He walked toward her. "Lily, we're leaving now." She stood slowly. "Dad, no, I want to stay. You don't understand. This place isn't safe. It's not controlled. Exactly, she said softly. That's why I love it. Nathaniel paused. There was something in her voice, quiet but defiant. He wasn't used to that. Not from his daughter. I planned your summer, Lily. This wasn't part of the plan. She looked up at him. Voice steady. Maybe I don't want to live by your plans anymore. The sentence hit him like a punch to the ribs. From behind, the camp manager stepped forward, her name tag reading Olivia Bennett. She's already checked in, Olivia said calmly. And per camp policy, registered campers must complete the program. Nathaniel turned to her, stunned. You're siding with a child? She raised an eyebrow. No, I'm siding with someone who just made the first real choice of her life. Lily walked back to the group, joining a girl with paint on her cheeks and a slingshot in her back pocket. Nathaniel stood frozen in the clearing, unsure whether to scream, leave, or burn the entire forest down. But he didn't do any of those things. Because deep down, a thought stirred inside him, one he didn't dare say out loud. She doesn't need me here. But maybe I need to be here for her. Session 1. The CEO without cell signal. Sometimes, losing control is the first step toward finding what matters. Nathaniel Carter stood beside his sleek black SUV, one hand gripping the door handle, the other holding his phone high in the air like a lost hiker searching for a signal. No bars. He lowered the phone, stared at it like it had betrayed him. How could a place even exist in 2025 without Wi-Fi? Without cell reception? Without the hum of digital life that kept his empire running? His assistant would be trying to reach him. There were mergers on the table, investors waiting, meetings to reschedule, and all of it unreachable. He tapped the phone again. Nothing. From the distance came the sound of children laughing, high, wild, carefree, the kind of sound you didn't hear in boardrooms. He hated how unfamiliar it felt. Nathaniel turned toward the camp office. Olivia Bennett, the manager, the woman who had calmly refused his very firm, very expensive complaints, was sitting on the porch, sipping coffee from a metal thermos, watching him like a patient spectator. Problem, Mr. Carter? She asked without looking away. He took a breath, fighting the urge to snap. My phone doesn't work. She nodded, deadpan. That tends to happen when you're off-grid. It's sort of the point. I need to be reachable. By who? My assistant, my clients, my team. There are. She cut him off gently. Not unkindly. You're here now. That's not the point. No, she said, standing, but maybe it should be. He opened his mouth to argue. But Olivia had already turned and disappeared back into the cabin, leaving him alone with the sound of wind through trees and his own rising panic. Nathaniel Carter was trapped, not by handcuffs or contracts, but by something far worse, silence. That afternoon, he tried to stay near his car, pacing like a lion in a cage. He opened his laptop, dead. No signal. He read a report on his tablet. It made no sense. By 2 p.m., he was sitting on a log, staring at the ground, wondering what the hell he was supposed to do here. That's when he heard it. Dad. Lily's voice cut through the stillness like a song. He looked up. She was running toward him barefoot, her cheeks smudged with dirt, her hair in a messy braid, and a wild grin on her face. Come see what I made, she cried, grabbing his hand without waiting. She dragged him across a field to a clearing where half a dozen kids had constructed a makeshift tent out of branches, leaves, and an old tarp. Lily beamed like she'd just built the Empire State Building. Nathaniel stared at it. It looked like a pile of debris. It's amazing, right? Lily said, catching her breath. He forced a smile. It's very creative. But she wasn't looking for his approval. She was looking at the other kids, laughing, comparing who had the better shelter. Nathaniel felt a sharp pang in his chest. It wasn't jealousy. It was something worse. He was being replaced, not by another man, but by independence, by joy that didn't require him. At dinner, Nathaniel sat alone at the parents' table, poking at a plate of beans and grilled corn like it was a foreign delicacy. Meanwhile, the kids devoured everything with gusto, laughing around fire pits, tossing marshmallows into each other's mouths. Olivia sat down beside him without asking. How's day one? Primitive. She chuckled. You'll adjust. I don't plan on staying. She sipped her coffee. Lily does. That shut him up. For a moment, they watched the fire together. I don't know how to connect with her anymore, Nathaniel admitted quietly. Olivia didn't respond right away. Then she said, That's not the problem. He turned. Then what is? She doesn't need connection, Olivia said. She needs presence. Nathaniel blinked. I'm here, aren't I? Olivia looked at him. Your body is, but you're still in a conference room 3 cities away. That night, in a cabin with a mattress thinner than a throw pillow, Nathaniel lay awake staring at the ceiling. Crickets chirped. The wind rustled the trees. He thought of emails going unanswered, of reports piling up, of how his daughter had stopped asking for his opinion. And for the first time in years, he wondered if his whole life, his perfectly controlled, polished, platinum existence, was nothing more than a spreadsheet without a soul. Day 2. Nathaniel woke up to the sound of birds. Not an alarm, not the hum of city traffic. Birds. He sat up, hair mussed, shirt wrinkled. And outside, Lily was already up, climbing a rope ladder with 2 other girls, giggling as she reached the top and raised her arms like a champion. She didn't see him, but Nathaniel saw everything. How her smile was different. How she walked like she knew exactly who she was becoming. He didn't know whether to feel proud or afraid. Maybe both. And for the first time in his life, the man who always had the answers had no idea what to do next. Session 2, the first challenge. It wasn't the wall that was too high, it was his pride. The sun beat down from a cloudless sky, casting long shadows across the open field where dozens of campers and parents had gathered. Ropes dangled from wooden frames. Tires were laid out in staggered rows. Buckets of mud were conveniently stationed like traps. The infamous family bonding challenge had begun. Nathaniel stood at the edge of the field, arms crossed, watching the chaos unfold. Children cheered as they crawled through tunnels and leapt over hay bales. Parents stumbled behind them, laughing, gasping, getting covered in dirt and joy. Nathaniel? He stayed clean, until Olivia's voice rang out like a verdict. Mr. Carter. All heads turned. His name hung in the air like a challenge. Nathaniel blinked. Yes? You're up, she said, gesturing toward the course. You and Lily. He opened his mouth, already forming a polite, condescending decline. Something like, I don't do obstacle courses. But Lily was already standing by the start line, her hands on her hips, a playful grin on her face. Come on, Dad, she called. Don't make me beat you alone. The other parents chuckled. Nathaniel swallowed the lump in his throat. There was no spreadsheet for this. No assistant to outsource the mud. No opt-out button. Just his daughter, waiting. The whistle blew. They started at the rope climb. Lily scrambled up like she'd done it a dozen times. Nathaniel paused at the bottom, eyeing the knots suspiciously. This wasn't a boardroom. It didn't come with a brief. It didn't care about your net worth. It just demanded that you try. With a grunt, he climbed, slowly, awkwardly, reaching the top long after Lily had dropped to the other side and was waving him down. Let go, she shouted. Just slide. He looked down, then back up. Then, he let go, and hit the dirt like a man falling out of his own ego. Laughter erupted around him, not cruel. Just honest. Real. He wiped his hands on his slacks, which were now streaked with mud. His shirt clung to his back with sweat. He looked ridiculous. But Lily was already tugging his arm toward the next challenge. And for some reason, he followed. The tire run was worse. Nathaniel tried to keep pace, but his legs weren't built for zigzagging anymore. He tripped on the 3rd tire, fell on the 4th. Lily doubled back, laughing as she helped him up. Are you okay? She asked. Still giggling. He stared at her. There was no embarrassment in her eyes. Just fun. It had been years since he'd seen that look directed at him. I'm okay, he muttered. She grinned. Good, we're winning. He almost believed her. Then came the final obstacle. The wall. 10 feet high. Flat. No ladder. Just ropes and teamwork. Lily ran ahead, scanning for a way up. Nathaniel stayed behind, assessing it like a risk report. She turned. Boost me. He blinked. What? Boost me up. Then I'll help pull you. You can't pull me. Try me. He hesitated. Lily, this isn't safe. It's not supposed to be. She said, it's supposed to be ours. That stopped him. She crouched, eyes bright. Come on, Dad, let me lead for once. Something cracked inside him, something old and rigid. He bent down, laced his hands together, lifted her up. She climbed like it was second nature. At the top, she turned and reached for him. Nathaniel stared up. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was the one who led, who pulled others up, not the other way around. But today was different. He grabbed her hand, and for the first time in his life, let himself be helped. They collapsed on the other side, covered in dirt and breathless. A horn blared, signaling the end. They didn't win. They didn't even place. But Lily was laughing, arms sprawled across the grass. "You didn't die," she said between gulps of air. Nathaniel looked at her, hair tangled, cheeks flushed, joy bubbling out of her like sunlight. And then, for the first time in a long time, he laughed too. Not politely, not out of obligation. He laughed because something had broken open, and something new had rushed in. Later that evening, while the sun melted into the horizon and the sky blushed gold and orange, Olivia approached him by the lake. She handed him a towel. "You survived." He smirked. "Barely. You let her lead." "I had no choice." She tilted her head. "That's not true. You had a choice. You just finally made the right one." He was quiet for a moment, watching the water ripple. "I thought being a good father meant providing everything. Control, structure, a path." Olivia folded her arms. "And now?" He looked toward the mess of tents and laughter where Lily was still playing. "Now I'm wondering if it means letting go, just enough for them to find their own way." Olivia smiled. "You're not the first parent to figure it out late, but you might be one of the few willing to say it out loud." Nathaniel didn't respond, but his silence no longer felt like avoidance. It felt like listening. For the first time. Session 3, the night it stormed. He'd built empires with strategy. But now, his daughter's life depended on instinct. The storm came fast. 1 minute, the sky was a watercolor of pinks and golds as the campfire songs drifted on the wind. The next, wind howled through the trees like a warning. Clouds thickened, thunder rolled, and the first drop of rain fell like a single word in a sentence no one wanted to finish. Campers scattered toward the cabins. Olivia's voice rang out clear and firm. "Everyone to shelter. Stay with your buddy." Roll call in 5. Nathaniel stood under a tarp canopy near the mess hall, watching counselors shepherd children into cabins with military precision. Rain began to pour, soaking the earth, drumming against rooftops and turning dirt paths into rivers of mud. "Lily?" he asked aloud, scanning the crowd. No answer. His heartbeat quickened. He moved faster now, pushing past people, peering into every group of kids huddled under cover. She wasn't there. "Lily," he called again, louder, desperate. Then a voice behind him, a mother. Breathless, panicked. "2 kids are missing. They were last seen near the East Trail before the storm hit." Nathaniel's chest clenched like a vice. The East Trail led to the ravine. Without hesitation, he turned and ran. He didn't wait for Olivia. Didn't stop for a flashlight. Didn't check for cell signal. He just ran. The trail was slick, mud clinging to his shoes, tree branches whipping against his face and arms. Lightning flashed overhead, momentarily illuminating the forest in ghostly white. Thunder crashed behind it like a drumbeat of dread. He slipped once, twice, but kept going. "Lily," he shouted, voice cracking. Nothing. His mind spiraled. What if she slipped? What if she was hurt? What if? Then, a sound. Faint, muffled by rain. A voice. "Dad." He turned his head, heart slamming against his ribs. Another flash of lightning. And there, by the base of a fallen tree, half shielded by wet leaves, was Lily. Soaked, shivering, kneeling beside another child, a boy, maybe 9 or 10, clutching his ankle in pain. Nathaniel's breath caught. She wasn't panicking. She was protecting. "I didn't want to leave him alone," Lily called through the rain. Nathaniel dropped to his knees beside her, heart pounding with relief and fear and something more primal than either. "I'm here," he said, voice steadier than he felt. She blinked up at him. "You came." That broke something in him. She hadn't been sure he would. That truth, quiet but sharp, gutted him more than any storm. "I will always come," he said, pressing his coat around her shoulders. He lifted the injured boy onto his back and grabbed Lily's hand. Together, they moved through the storm. Together, they made it back. When they returned to camp, soaked to the bone but safe, the relief was palpable. Counselors cheered, parents clapped. Olivia met Nathaniel's gaze and, for the first time, nodded with something like pride. But Nathaniel didn't see any of it. He only saw Lily, wrapped in his jacket, looking at him like he was something more than a provider. like he was hers. She threw her arms around him. And for the first time in years, he held her without hesitation. No guilt, no awkwardness, just the fierce, quiet love of a father who finally showed up. Later that night, the storm gave way to stillness. Nathaniel stood outside the cabin where Lily was sleeping, wrapped in dry clothes, curled in a sleeping bag. He couldn't sleep, not after what almost happened. Olivia found him near the fire pit, poking at glowing embers with a stick. "She's okay," she said. He nodded. "I know." Silence settled between them. Then he whispered, almost to himself, "I wasn't there before. I mean, I was. At every recital, every parent-teacher conference. I paid for everything, but I was never present. I was always somewhere else." Olivia didn't respond right away. Then, and yet, tonight, you were exactly where she needed you. Nathaniel looked up. "I didn't know I had it in me." She gave a half smile. "Most parents don't, until it matters." He leaned back, looking up at the clearing sky. The stars were just beginning to peek through the parting clouds. "I think I've been afraid," he admitted, "not of losing her, but of not knowing who I am if I'm not in control." "That's not fear," Olivia said gently. "That's love, trying to get out from under all the armor." He turned toward her. "And you? Why do you do this job?" She shrugged. "Because I didn't get the kind of parent Lily has now. I grew up with empty chairs and broken promises. So now I give these kids what I didn't have, even if it means pushing grown men like you into the mud." He chuckled, quietly, then grew serious. "Thank you, for tonight, for not letting me leave, for challenging me." Olivia smiled, eyes warm but sharp. "Don't thank me, thank her." He looked toward the cabin window and saw Lily sleeping, peaceful, whole, and for the first time in years, Nathaniel Carter didn't feel successful because of his title or his net worth. He felt successful because he had earned something he thought was already his. His daughter's trust. Session 4. Learning to start a fire. He had mastered risk management. But this was his first spark. The morning after the storm was crisp, clean, and strangely quiet. The sky stretched wide and blue overhead, as if trying to apologize for the chaos of the night before. Sunlight filtered through dew-kissed trees, casting golden beams onto the muddy earth. Nathaniel sat on a log near the lake, his coffee growing cold in his hands. Lily was still asleep. She'd earned that rest. But he couldn't rest. His body ached, his eyes were tired, but inside, something stirred. He remembered the moment she'd looked up through the storm and said, "You came." 3 words, but they changed everything. At mid-morning, Olivia approached with a rolled-up flint kit and a crooked smile. "You ever start a fire, Carter?" Nathaniel raised an eyebrow. "I outsourced that kind of thing." "I figured." She smirked, tossing the kit onto his lap. "Come on, time to learn. I have meetings." He muttered weakly. "You don't," she replied. "I checked. Your phone still has no signal. And no one's missing you for the next hour." He sighed, then stood up. This wasn't just about fire anymore. This was about proving something, not to her, to Lily, to himself. The lesson was held in a clearing where 6 other parents stood in a loose half-circle, each with their own bundle of dry wood, tinder, and flint. Nathaniel eyed the supplies like they were surgical instruments. Too small, too crude, too real. "Start with your kindling," Olivia instructed, kneeling. "The goal isn't to force the fire. It's to give it the right conditions to rise on its own." That line stayed with him. The right conditions. He bent over his small pile, hands trembling more than he expected. The first strike of flint scraped but produced nothing. The second, sparks, but no ember. The third, nothing again. He felt the familiar frustration rise in his chest. Failure. It tasted bitter, public, humiliating. He glanced sideways. Other parents were already catching small flames. He wanted to throw the flint, walk away, say, "This is a waste of time." But he didn't. Instead, he took a deep breath. Slower, calmer, focused. The 4th strike, a spark caught. The 5th, a wisp of smoke. Then, a flicker. A single flame licked the edge of the wood and stayed. His eyes widened. The breath caught in his throat. It was small, fragile, but it was his. For the first time in years, Nathaniel Carter had created something real, not from capital, not from code, but from focus, from patience, from hands that hadn't built anything without assistance in decades. Later, as he sat beside Olivia beneath the shade of a pine tree, sweat still drying on his back, she handed him a water bottle. "You did it." He smiled, surprisingly proud. "I started a fire. You did more than that." He looked at her. "Did I?" "You stopped trying to control the outcome. You just showed up." Nathaniel's smile faded. He stared ahead, watching kids run by, chasing a soccer ball across the field. "I missed a lot," he said quietly. "I know." He turned toward her, surprised by the honesty in her voice. She didn't sugarcoat it. She didn't say it wasn't his fault. She just understood. "Is it too late?" he asked. "For what? To become the dad she deserves?" Olivia considered him for a moment. Then, "It's never too late to start the fire. As long as you're willing to tend it." That evening, after dinner, Nathaniel knocked gently on Lily's cabin door. She answered in pajama shorts and a hoodie, her damp hair in a braid, eyes blinking with surprise. "Hey," he said, "can I show you something?" She stepped outside with him into the twilight. The sky was dimming to indigo, stars blinking awake one by one. They walked together to the fire pit. It was unlit, cold. Nathaniel knelt and pulled out the flint kit. "I learned something today," he said. "I want to show you." She watched him silently, curious but cautious. He arranged the kindling, struck once, twice, and on the third, a flame. It caught slowly, then grew. Lily's eyes widened. "You did that?" "I did," he said softly. She knelt beside him, hugging her knees. "I didn't think you'd stay," she admitted. "I didn't think I would either," he said, "but I'm glad I did." A pause. Then Lily reached over and tossed a stick onto the flame, watching it crackle. "I used to wish you'd show up more," she whispered. "Not with stuff. Just you." His throat tightened. "I know," he said, "and I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. Working hard, providing, but I wasn't listening. You're here now." "I am." They sat in silence, side by side. No tech, no distractions. Just the fire between them, burning steady. Later, as Nathaniel walked back toward the parent cabins, Olivia caught up to him. "She's smiling again," she said. "I saw. You've started something." He looked at her, eyes tired but alive. "And this time, I'm not going to let it burn out." Session 5. The Test of Trust. Sometimes the bravest thing a father can do is follow. The next morning dawned crisp and full of energy. Campers buzzed with excitement, huddling around the central fire pit as Olivia stepped up with a clipboard and a mischievous grin. "Today's challenge," she began, "is all about trust." Nathaniel, already sipping his terrible camp coffee, arched an eyebrow. He'd come to expect Olivia's cheerful cruelty by now. But what she said next made his stomach drop. "Each parent-child pair will switch roles. Kids become the leaders, parents follow." The crowd murmured. Olivia went on. "You'll navigate a path through the woods using only a hand-drawn map. Kids hold the map. Kids make the decisions. Parents stay quiet." A few parents chuckled nervously. Nathaniel didn't. He turned to Lily, who was beaming like she'd just been handed a crown. "I get to boss you around all day," she teased. He forced a smile. "Can't wait." But inside, something churned. He was used to leading, to controlling every variable, to making sure the outcome was predictable, measurable, profitable. This was chaos in a paper bag. And he was about to be dragged through the middle of it. They stood at the trailhead 10 minutes later, Lily holding the hand-drawn map Olivia had passed out, which looked like it had been created by a squirrel with a crayon. Nathaniel examined it over her shoulder. "Are you sure that's north?" Lily shot him a warning look. "Rule 1. You're not allowed to talk." He closed his mouth. She smirked, satisfied, then pointed toward the dense brush. "We go that way." He followed. They hiked in silence for the first few minutes, ducking under branches, hopping over roots. Lily was surprisingly sure-footed, pausing occasionally to double-check the map, then adjusting course. Nathaniel wanted to speak up half a dozen times. When they passed a familiar clearing, one he knew led in the wrong direction. When Lily turned left at the bend instead of right. When they looped back to the same patch of moss-covered stones. But he said nothing. His hands itched. His mouth was dry. But he followed, because that was the rule. And also, because this mattered to her. He saw it in her face, the concentration, the determination. She wanted to succeed, not to prove him wrong. To prove she could. 45 minutes in, they hit a dead end. Lily groaned, dropping to a tree stump and yanking off her backpack. Okay, she muttered. That was a wrong turn. Nathaniel stood beside her, waiting, silent. Old Nathaniel would have taken the map, fixed it, led them out. But today, he waited. Lily stared at the paper, biting her lip. Maybe I missed the lake mark. Still he said nothing. Then, okay, we double back, just 5 minutes. She stood, hoisted her pack again, and they started walking. It was quiet between them. Not heavy, not tense, just quiet, until Lily suddenly blurted, I used to think you didn't trust me. Nathaniel blinked. Lily, you can talk now, she said gently. He exhaled. I didn't know how. To trust me? To not be the one in control. He admitted. They paused beside a tree where the path forked. I thought if I made all the right decisions. He continued, you'd be protected, that I could fix everything before it broke. Lily looked up at him. But I needed to break things sometimes. That's how I learn. His throat tightened. I know that now. They stood for a beat. Then Lily handed him the map. Here, want to choose the next path? He looked down at the paper. Then shook his head. No, lead the way. She smiled, wide, real, filled with something he hadn't seen in years, trust. They reached the checkpoint 20 minutes later. One of the first teams to arrive. Olivia raised an eyebrow when she saw them. Well, look at you two, she said, still speaking to each other? Nathaniel chuckled. I followed orders. She's bossy, Olivia said, nodding toward Lily. Gets it from her mother. Nathaniel replied. It slipped out before he could stop it. He hadn't spoken of Lily's mom, his late wife, in a long time. Lily turned toward him, surprised. She was fierce, he added, and brilliant. She would have loved this place. Lily's eyes softened. Then she reached for his hand. For once, he didn't hesitate. He held it, tightly, and didn't let go. That night, back at the campfire, Olivia told a story about a hiker who once got lost in the woods. And how the only thing that saved her wasn't a compass or a GPS, but listening to someone else's voice. Sometimes, Olivia said, when we're lost, the bravest thing we can do isn't find the way ourselves. It's letting someone else lead us home. Nathaniel stared into the flames. Lily curled up beside him. He didn't need to look at her to know. She'd already started leading him home. Session 6. The campfire talk. The fire wasn't just warming their hands. It was softening their hearts. The fire crackled low and steady, casting long, flickering shadows across the clearing. It was the last night of camp. Most of the other kids had retreated to their cabins after s'mores and ghost stories. Counselors cleaned up quietly in the background. The stars hung heavy overhead, countless, bright, unbothered by time or city lights. Nathaniel sat on a log near the fire, elbows on his knees, eyes locked on the flames. He wasn't sure how long he'd been staring. Then a quiet voice broke the silence. Can I sit here? He looked up. Lily stood a few feet away, hoodie zipped up, marshmallow stick still in hand like a tiny white flag. Of course, he said, shifting to make room. She sat down beside him, close, but not touching. The kind of distance that meant, I'm here, but I'm still deciding how much. They watched the flames together for a moment, letting the silence settle between them like a blanket. Then Lily spoke. You know what I used to think? She asked, her voice almost too soft for the wind. Nathaniel looked over. What? I thought you liked your office more than our house. His heart stuttered. I thought maybe you didn't know how to talk to me. Or maybe I was just too much work after mom. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. His shoulders stiffened. But Lily didn't stop. And I used to tell myself that it was okay. That maybe I didn't need a dad who took me to school or watched me dance in the living room. I had nannies. I had tutors. I had everything. Her voice cracked. But it wasn't everything. Nathaniel's throat burned. He wanted to speak, to explain, to fix it. But she wasn't done. And sometimes, when I saw other kids hugging their dads, or when I had to sit alone during bring your parent to school day, I'd think, she hesitated, maybe I just wasn't enough. Those words hit harder than any investor rejection, any business failure, any public embarrassment. They broke him. He turned toward her, his voice hoarse. Lily, you were always enough. You were everything. He exhaled slowly. I didn't know how to stay. She glanced at him, eyes glossy in the firelight. Why? He looked at the flames. Then the stars. Then finally, Her. Because when your mom died, I was angry. At the world. At fate. At myself. And being around you. You look so much like her. And you laugh like her. And every time I saw you, it reminded me of what I lost. He paused, swallowing hard. So I buried myself in work. In deals. In spreadsheets. I told myself I was doing it for you. Giving you a future. But the truth is, he turned fully to her now. I was running. Lily blinked, a single tear slipping down her cheek. Nathaniel wiped it with his thumb. Gently. I missed your 5th birthday. He whispered, because I couldn't bring myself to walk into a room with balloons and cake and not see her there. Lily's face crumpled. I just wanted someone to be there. She whispered. I know, he said, and I will be. From now on. They sat in silence for a long time. Then she leaned into him. Slowly, carefully, her head resting on his shoulder. His arm wrapped around her. Not out of obligation, but out of instinct. Real, unplanned. Home. I don't need you to be perfect. She mumbled. He smiled. Good. I'm terrible at that. She gave a soft laugh. The kind only someone safe would let out. Much later, when most of the fire had died down, Nathaniel pulled a folded paper from his pocket. Here, he said, I was going to give this to you tomorrow. But I think now is better. She opened it slowly. Inside was a simple list. Handwritten, messy, real, things I want to do with you. Make pancakes from scratch. Watch a movie you pick, even if it's animated. Take you to your favorite bookstore. Learn your favorite song on guitar, might take years. Write you into my schedule, and then throw the schedule away. Lily read it once, then twice. She folded it carefully, as if it were something sacred. I want to add one, she said. Go on a trip where we get lost. He raised an eyebrow. Didn't we just do that? She smiled. Yeah, but this time, let's not wait for lightning. He laughed. I'm in. And for the first time in his adult life, Nathaniel Carter wasn't worried about what came next. Because he knew, whatever it was, they'd face it together. Session 7. The storm brought us home. He used to run from the storm. Now he walks straight into it, for her. It started as a whisper in the trees. A change in the wind. A heaviness in the air. Nathaniel didn't notice it at first. Not really. He was too busy helping Lily and 2 other campers sort through the leftover firewood for the next morning's kindling. But Olivia noticed. She looked up from the mess hall steps, her eyes narrowing toward the horizon. Storm's coming, she said under her breath. No sooner had the words left her lips than a low rumble echoed in the distance. Nathaniel paused mid-step. He recognized that sound, not just thunder, but the kind of thunder that moves. Lily looked up. Do we need to go inside? Olivia was already shouting instructions. All campers back to cabins. Counselors, check headcounts and radios. Make it fast. We don't know how long we've got. Nathaniel turned to Lily. Grab your things. Go. I'll meet you at your cabin. But, no arguing, please. She hesitated, then nodded and ran toward the trail. Nathaniel turned back toward Olivia. What do you need? She blinked. You asking to help? I've got 2 hands, 2 eyes, and I don't panic in pressure. You want me or not? She didn't hesitate. Let's go. Within minutes, the wind kicked up hard. Tree branches swayed like arms in panic. The sky turned slate gray, then black. Nathaniel and Olivia moved cabin to cabin, checking windows, locking doors, directing soaked kids inside. The rain came suddenly, heavy, unforgiving. It pelted their faces, soaked their clothes in minutes. Flashlights bobbed through the trees as counselors shouted names and final instructions. East cabin, one called. We're missing 2 from group 7. Nathaniel froze. Lily was in group 7. He spun toward the counselor. Who? Lily Carter and Benji Stein. They went to get the water jugs before it hit. A bolt of lightning sliced the sky, followed by a deafening crack. Olivia's face paled. The stream's a 5-minute walk down the ridge. And now it was flooding. Without a word, Nathaniel grabbed the closest flashlight and took off into the woods. He ran. Branches slashed his arms. Roots nearly twisted his ankles. But he didn't care. His breath came sharp. Cold rain blurred his vision. But he kept running. Lily. Lily. God, please. Another bolt of lightning lit the ridge, revealing a pair of small figures in the distance, huddled beneath a large tree. He shouted, Lily. A pause. Then a voice, frantic. Small, Familiar. Dad? He rushed forward, slipping, crashing to his knees beside her. She was clutching Benji's arm. The boy was trembling, his ankle clearly twisted. I couldn't leave him, Lily cried. He fell. I tried to carry him. Nathaniel shook his head. You did exactly right. He peeled off his soaked jacket and wrapped it around both kids. Hang on, I've got you. In one motion, he lifted Benji onto his back. With his free arm, he pulled Lily close. You walk beside me, no matter how slow. We stayed together. She nodded, tears mixing with rain. They moved, through mud, through downpour, through fear. Nathaniel didn't feel tired. He didn't feel afraid. He only felt one thing. Determined. Because this was what it meant to be a father. Not money, not power, not plans. Presence, protection, sacrifice, and love. By the time they reached the mess hall, the storm had begun to die. Inside, campers huddled under blankets, wide-eyed, when the doors burst open and Nathaniel stepped inside. Drenched, scratched, carrying Benji and holding Lily's hand. Silence fell. Then, cheers. Applause. Olivia rushed over. You found them? Are they okay? They're cold, wet, sore, but safe. Nathaniel set Benji down onto a mat as a counselor rushed to check his ankle. Then he turned to Lily, wiping the hair from her face. You scared me. She looked up. I knew you'd come. He pulled her into his arms. This time, he needed the hug more than she did. And he let her hold him. Right there, in front of everyone. Later that night, after dry clothes and hot cocoa, Nathaniel stood outside the mess hall under the now clearing sky. Olivia walked up beside him. Not bad for a boardroom guy. He glanced at her. You knew a storm was coming, didn't you? I always do, she said with a smile. He exhaled. I used to think being a dad meant knowing everything, having the answers, controlling the outcome. And now? Now I think it's about showing up. She nodded. Welcome to the club. A quiet moment passed. Then Olivia added, you changed this week. Nathaniel looked up at the sky. The stars were starting to return. I think I remembered who I am, he said, or maybe I found out for the first time. Back at the cabin, Lily was already asleep, curled up in her bunk. Peaceful. Nathaniel sat nearby, watching her breathe, just breathing, just being there. Because now, finally, he understood. Sometimes, the storm doesn't break you. It shows you what you're made of. And it leads you home. Session 8. A daughter's speech. She didn't speak like a child anymore. She spoke like someone who had learned to forgive. The final morning of camp arrived wrapped in sunlight. Birds called through the trees. The scent of damp earth lingered after the storm. Counselors moved through the clearing with gentle voices, waking kids for their last breakfast. Nathaniel stood quietly outside Lily's cabin, coffee in hand, watching the world move. He wasn't thinking about meetings, or stocks, or acquisitions. He was thinking about how fast 1 week can change a life. Especially his. Inside, Lily was packing. She hummed as she folded her hoodie, paused to reread a note a bunkmate had left her, then carefully tucked the muddy camp map into her backpack like a treasure. At breakfast, Olivia tapped her fork against a glass, calling the campers to attention. We have a little ceremony before everyone heads out, she said. Some campers asked to speak about what this week meant to them. Nathaniel smiled. Nice tradition. But then, and to start us off, Lily Carter. His breath caught. Lily's eyes widened too. Wait, what? Her bunkmates nudged her. You said you were thinking about it. One whispered. We told Olivia. Lily stood slowly, nervous, but calm. She walked to the front, climbed onto the small wooden platform, and turned to face everyone. Nathaniel couldn't take his eyes off her. She looked taller today, not physically, but emotionally. Like someone who had stepped through a storm and found something waiting on the other side. She took a deep breath and began. Hi, I'm Lily. Some giggles, a few claps. She smiled. I came here thinking this would be the worst week ever. My dad accidentally sent me to the wrong camp. Laughter. Nathaniel chuckled with the rest. But maybe it was the right kind of wrong, she said. Silence. The kind of silence people lean into. She glanced down at her hands, then back up. Before I came here, I didn't think I was brave or strong. I thought I was just someone following a plan. She paused. You know, violin at 4. Debate club, tutors, no chocolate before bed. No staying up past 9. All decided for me. More laughter. But softer now. More knowing. I love my dad, she said, voice quieter. But I didn't really know him. He was always working, or in meetings, or flying somewhere, and I used to wonder if maybe I wasn't interesting enough to keep. Nathaniel felt a knot twist in his chest. Her voice didn't tremble, but his did, inside. But then I came here, and I got muddy, and fell off a log, and burned my first marshmallow, and learned how to start a fire with just a rock. Laughter again. Lily smiled gently, and then my dad showed up. Her eyes moved through the crowd, landed on him, and he stayed, even when it was messy, even when it was hard, even when I told him he was doing it all wrong. A few parents chuckled, a few teared up. I think I learned a lot this week. About how to tie knots, and how to build a tent. But also, she inhaled, that the best kind of love isn't perfect. It just shows up, over and over, until one day, you stop wondering if it will. Silence. A heavy, beautiful silence. And then, applause. The kind that starts small and swells. Nathaniel was the last to clap. Because his hands were shaking. And his heart? It was breaking, in the best possible way. After the ceremony, Lily walked back through the crowd toward him. He met her halfway. Neither spoke. She simply reached out, and slipped her hand into his. And that was enough. Later that afternoon, as they packed up the car, Olivia approached. Leaving so soon? She teased. I have a board meeting tomorrow, Nathaniel said, then looked at Lily. But I might be late. Olivia smirked. Shocking. He looked at her. Serious now. Thank you. For what? For holding the line. For not letting me pull her out. For making it hard. Olivia shrugged. That's what we do here. We let them fail a little. And find out they're strong. Nathaniel smiled. Turns out, he said, it works on parents too. As they pulled onto the main road, Lily turned toward the backseat. You forgot something. What? Nathaniel asked. She reached into her bag and pulled out the mud-smeared camp map. Held it up. He glanced at it, smiled. Souvenir? No, she said. You keep it, in case you ever get lost again. He looked at her, and for the first time, he didn't feel lost at all. Session 9. Boardroom. Interrupted. They expected the same CEO. He gave them something better, a father. The glass tower of Carter Holdings gleamed under the Manhattan sun. To most people, it was just another skyscraper in a city full of ambition and noise. But to those who worked inside, it was Nathaniel Carter's domain, sharp suits, sharper strategies, and the cold efficiency of a man who never missed a margin. Nathaniel stepped through the revolving door in a plain dark suit, hair slightly tousled, no tie. The receptionist blinked. Mr. Carter, she stammered. You look different. Still me, he said with a calm smile. Just with better priorities. She laughed, startled by her own reaction, and buzzed him in. He walked the familiar halls. But today, they didn't feel like his kingdom. They felt like a test. He entered the 38th floor conference room, where the board had already assembled. 12 people in tailored clothes, murmuring over espresso shots and pie charts. The moment he stepped in, silence swept the room. Ethan Donovan, head of investor relations, slick, precise, always skeptical, cleared his throat. Nathaniel, good to have you back. We weren't sure when your wilderness sabbatical would end. There were chuckles. Nathaniel smiled. You mean summer camp? More laughter. But Nathaniel didn't sit. He walked to the head of the table. Then paused. I know you expected a status report. Margins, market trends. But I want to start with a story. Some exchanged confused glances. He continued. Last week, I watched my daughter build a tent. It collapsed twice. Her hands were covered in mud. She cried once, but she didn't quit. Someone coughed. Nathaniel pressed on. And I realized, that's leadership. Not perfect spreadsheets or aggressive growth. It's failing forward, and getting back up. More silence. Then he added, voice calm but firm. We've built a company obsessed with performance. With never missing. With always being 5 steps ahead. He paused, letting the silence breathe. But somewhere along the way, we forgot how to connect. Now, they were listening. I forgot how to connect. He admitted, with my daughter, with myself, with what actually matters. Donovan narrowed his eyes. Nathaniel, this is all very touching. But we have serious Q3 decisions to make. Nathaniel nodded, which is why I'm proposing a pivot. Murmurs rippled through the room. A pivot? Another board member echoed. To what? Nathaniel leaned forward, hands on the table. People. The word landed like a stone in still water. He clarified. Work-life balance, mental health programs, family support for employees, real leadership development, not just metrics, but meaning. Some brows lifted, some jaws tightened. This isn't just about being nice, he continued. It's about longevity, loyalty, building a place where people don't burn out, they belong. One woman, CFO Teresa Mendez, spoke up. That'll raise operating costs. Nathaniel nodded. And retention, innovation, humanity. A long pause. Donovan leaned back, folding his arms. You really did drink the campfire Kool-Aid, didn't you? Nathaniel didn't flinch. I drank something, he said, called perspective. The room stilled. I used to think leadership was control, precision, winning every quarter. He exhaled slowly. But leadership is showing up. It's knowing when to put down the numbers and pick up your kid from school. And just like that, the coldest room in the building felt a little warmer. After the meeting, a young analyst approached him in the hallway. Sir, she said nervously, I just wanted to say thank you. I haven't taken a weekend off in 6 months. I thought that's what was expected here. He looked at her. Take this weekend, all of it. Her eyes widened. Really? Yes, he said. Tell your family you still exist. She laughed. And Nathaniel smiled. Not because of metrics, but because he was starting to see the impact that didn't fit on a graph. That night, as city lights blinked below his penthouse window, Nathaniel sat at the piano in his living room. He hadn't touched it in years. His wife had been the one who played. Lily used to sit next to her, swaying to the notes. He placed his fingers on the keys. Pressed one, then another. It was clumsy, off-key, awkward, but it was real. Lily peeked from the hallway. You're playing? He glanced over. Trying. She patted in barefoot, her camp hoodie now a staple. Want me to show you the song we learned at camp? He nodded. She sat beside him, and their fingers stumbled through the melody together. Out of tune, but in sync. And Nathaniel thought, this is the only boardroom that matters. Session 10. A letter from the woods. Sometimes the stories we leave behind find their way back in ink. And in invitation. The Monday after the boardroom shakeup, Nathaniel sat alone in his office. But something was different. The blinds were half open. The coffee machine was off. His tie was missing, intentionally. And in front of him sat a small envelope. Handwritten, no return address. Only his name, Nathaniel Carter. In calm, confident handwriting. He didn't need to guess who it was from. His fingers hesitated over the seal before he opened it. Inside, one sheet of plain white paper. And a note in Olivia Bennett's distinct, assertive script. Nathaniel, I was going to email. But it felt wrong, too cold for what this message is. So here I am, writing an actual letter, on real paper, with my favorite campfire pen. You're probably back to suits and glass and clocks that tick louder than most people breathe. I hope not, but if so, I won't hold it against you. Old rhythms die hard. This letter isn't about work. It's about something else. 3 things, actually. First, Lily is amazing. I hope you know that. She left a mark on Camp Ridgewood, on her team, and on me, not because she's perfect, but because she's real, funny, brave, smart, messy in the best way. She reminded everyone what it looks like when a child stops surviving and starts living. Second, you change. 2. I saw it. So did the kids. So did the staff. You stopped performing and started participating. That's rare, especially for a man who probably hasn't failed at much, except maybe choosing the right camp. Third, I'm extending an offer. Not professional, personal. There's another session coming up next month. Family weekend. It's short, 1 night, no meetings, no mud pits unless requested. I think it would do Lily good to come back. I think it might do you even better. Also, I make a pretty decent cinnamon pancake. Just saying, no pressure. But if you're reading this and smiling, maybe that's your answer. Olivia. P.S. Lily left behind a bandana with Camp Legend stitched into it. It's waiting here if she wants it. Or if you do. Nathaniel read the letter once. Then again. Then set it down beside him and leaned back in his chair. A slow smile pulled at his lips. A few minutes later, he walked out of his office. Past his stunned assistant. Cancel the Thursday dinner, he said. She blinked. The one with the board? Reschedule. I've got a weekend to plan. That Friday evening, Lily came home to find her dad in the kitchen, making pancakes. Burning pancakes. Badly. She stared. Are you okay? He looked up from the smoking skillet, flipping something unrecognizable with a spatula. I got a letter. From who? The IRS? Nope. He passed her the envelope. She read the name. Olivia. Her smile widened. Did you say yes? I'm saying it right now, he said, flipping the last burned pancake onto the plate. Pack a bag. Lily raced to her room. Nathaniel watched her disappear down the hallway. And quietly, he picked up the letter again, folding it carefully, like something worth keeping. The drive back to Camp Ridgewood felt different. Last time, he'd clutched the wheel like it was a lifeline. This time, his hand rested comfortably on it, one elbow out the window. Lily sang along with the radio. Off-key, loud. And Nathaniel? He didn't even try to stop her. As the SUV turned the final bend, the trees opened once more, and the cabins came into view. Lily gasped. I forgot how much I loved this place. Nathaniel smiled. I didn't. Olivia met them at the gate, arms crossed, wearing jeans, boots, and that look that said she wasn't easily impressed. But when she saw Nathaniel, she gave him something new. A small, quiet smile. Back for more torture? She teased. He grinned. I figured I'd start with the pancakes. Smart man. She turned to Lily. Bandana's waiting on your bunk. Lily ran ahead, already calling out names she remembered. Nathaniel stood with Olivia for a moment, watching her go. She's lighter here, he said. She's seen here, Olivia replied. He nodded. So are you, she added. He looked over. Her eyes didn't flirt. They understood. And that was better. Come on, she said. Let's build a fire. I'll let you start it, no pressure. He chuckled. I've been practicing. Really? No, but I'm good at showing up now. They walked side by side into the trees. And somewhere behind them, laughter rang out under a sky just beginning to turn orange. It was only one night, but it would last forever. Because sometimes, love doesn't look like fireworks. Sometimes, it looks like coming back. The campfire never really goes out. He came to correct a mistake, but he left with something he never knew he needed: forgiveness, belonging, and a second chance. The last morning at Camp Ridgewood was cool and golden. The sun filtered gently through the pine trees, casting light like honey over the wooden cabins, empty now except for packed bags and faint echoes of laughter. Nathaniel Carter stood near the fire pit, hands in his pockets, watching the final embers glow softly beneath a blanket of ash. Lily ran across the field, cheeks flushed with life, wearing her bright green, Camp Legend, bandana like a crown. He smiled. A real smile. Not one rehearsed for photos. Not one masking exhaustion. Just full, whole, alive. He hadn't planned to feel this much. Hadn't planned to change. But somehow, between burned pancakes, muddy sneakers, silent nights, and a 12-year-old girl who refused to be ignored, he did. And maybe that was the lesson. Growth doesn't always come from spreadsheets. Sometimes, it comes from sitting on wet grass beside someone who still believes in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. As they loaded up the SUV, Lily turned to Olivia one last time. Thank you for everything. Olivia knelt slightly, tying the strap of Lily's backpack. You're stronger than you think, she whispered, and smarter than most adults I know. Then she looked at Nathaniel. I mean it. He met her eyes, something quiet passing between them. Not a promise, but a beginning. I'll be back, he said. For the pancakes? She teased. For the reminder, he replied. That life isn't lived in glass towers. She smirked. You sure you remember how to live in the woods? He smiled. I've got a map, and a pretty good co-pilot. Lily waved as they pulled away. And in the rearview mirror, Camp Ridgewood grew smaller, but the fire in their hearts stayed warm. 1 week later, back in the city, Nathaniel stood in the boardroom. Same table, same city skyline, same old suits. But something had shifted. In him. In everything. He wore a simple band on his wrist now, green nylon, with Camp Legend stitched in faded yellow thread. Lily had given it to him, in case the city makes you forget. He hadn't taken it off since. During lunch break, Nathaniel walked down to the lobby and paused. He looked at the faces passing by. Phones in hand, Lives in fast forward. And he thought of that night by the fire. The way Lily had whispered, "You came," as if that alone made everything okay. He whispered to himself, "I'll keep coming, I'll keep showing up." That, more than any corporate goal, was the promise that mattered now. That night, Lily found a small note on her pillow. No email, no text, just a folded piece of paper. Inside, "You're my greatest investment, and the one thing I'll never sell short. Love, Dad." Her eyes filled. She pressed the paper to her heart and smiled. Somewhere in the woods, a fire pit still remembers their laughter. The trees still carry their stories. And a stubborn camp manager is probably flipping pancakes with a crooked smile, waiting for next summer. Because the truth is, the fire never really goes out. Not when it starts in the heart. Thank you for watching today's CEO Love Stories. Every love story is a journey. One filled with passion, ambition, sacrifice, and unforgettable moments. Here at CEO Love Stories, we bring you the most compelling tales where power, success, and love collide. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget, like to support more incredible content. Comment your thoughts. Can love overcome power and ambition? Subscribe and turn on notifications, so you never miss our next breathtaking romance. CEO Love Stories, where love and power collide. Because love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice. See you in the next story.